Welcome to Shaq's house. Shaq's house. That's our Shaq. You're now in Shaq's house. Welcome to Shaq's house.
Yo, what's up? How you doing, Shaq Housers? It's your boy, Shaq House. Happy Monday to you, folks. Hope your weekend went well. Hope your Friday went well. Now, up here in the DMV, we've been catching the backwash from Hurricane Ophelia in North Carolina. And I hope you people down in North Carolina in that area, I hope you're staying safe and staying dry right now. But what have we got for you today, Shaq Housers? We're going to be talking about two loudmouth mutant parrots. That's right, we're going to be talking about Kylun from Excalibur and Ruckus from the Nasty Boys. Basically, Kylun, he's a parrot, and Ruckus, well, that motherfucker's a loudmouth parrot. Well, if you know what their powers are, then you know why I call them parrots. But if you don't, check it out.
Kylun. Colin McKay was a 7-year-old mutant child from Scotland who was transported by the robotic Widget to the alternate Earth known as Eerath, in reality Earth-148. Raised in an exiled royal household to be a warrior, he became known as Kylun in the 20 years that passed, yet Kylun being that reality's rough translation of his first name. Time, it moved faster on Eerath than on Earth, and as he grew older, his mutation also fully manifested itself. Kylun's mutant physiology, it grants him feline facial features, cat-like eyes that allow him night vision, and a full body covering of light brown fur that provides him a slight resistance to cold temperatures. His mutant power, however, is the ability to retain any sounds he hears within his memory and then duplicate them by modifying the sounds produced by his vocal cords. He apparently cannot change the tone, pitch, or volume of the stimulus, simply reproducing sounds exactly as he hears them. There is no audible difference between the actual sounds and those that Kylun produces, so voice scans do not detect any abnormalities whatsoever. He's also an exceptionally skilled swordsman. The swords that he carries are actually a pair of mystical swords and a dagger forged by Zria. The blades are capable of dispersing magical energy upon contact, making them highly effective at breaching the defenses of magical foes, destroying psychic projections, and disabling familiars or other entities animated by magic. The blades also have an enchantment that protects those who are good of heart, so that their cutting edge passes intangibly through any opponent who is not evil. The flat of the blade is unaffected by this enchantment, however. Some fun facts. In the 20 years that he was on Eerath, only 1 year had passed on Earth, and upon his return, he joined the ranks of the mutant team known as Excalibur, but eventually left the team to go find his parents. You see, when he was 7 years old, he was actually kidnapped from his parents, which is why he ended up with Widget and landed in that alternate reality of Earth-148. He eventually did find his parents, but lamented the fact that living back with his parents again, it meant that he had to do household chores. He considers his mutant power embarrassing, but it's actually cool when juxtaposed with his physical mutations, which, though cat-like, don't have him acting like an animal, like Feral, Wolverine, or Sabretooth. And plus, Kylun does not need a litter box. His power makes him kind of like Michael Winslow, or more accurately, Winslow's character of Sergeant Jones from all those Police Academy movies from the 80s. He was kidnapped when he was 7 years old because a crime lord wanted him for his mutant power. They probably thought it'd be useful in stealing from areas that require voice identification, and it would have been. Kylun eventually joined Krakoa and became part of the Knights of X, mutants assembled by the Betsy Braddock Captain Britain in order to restore peace to the Otherworld. Next, Ruckus. Ruckus has the mutant power of hypersonic mimicry. He can psionically sense any sound in his immediate vicinity and record it in his memory. He can then replicate it at an amplification of more than 1,000 times through his vocal cords. So even a small firecracker going off is sufficient ammunition for his power, causing tremendous pain to anyone in hearing distance of his sonic recreation. His sonic force can also bring down buildings, blow out eardrums, and render people unconscious or make them just collapse in pain. He also possesses a superhumanly enhanced throat, lungs, and vocal cords that are especially adapted to withstand the high volume of sounds that he reproduces. He also has specially reinforced eardrums that are immune to the harmful effects of loud noises and the various ranges of sonic frequencies, both from his own and external sources. Some fun facts. He was part of Mr. Sinister's Nasty Boys during Peter David's run of X Factor. He has pink hair, which may or may not be part of his mutation, and spent some of his early appearances fighting X Factor and going on beer runs. He appeared more prominently in the X-Men cartoon in the 90s and was eventually resurrected on Krakoa after being killed by the Upstarts. He joined the security detail of Krakoa known as S.W.O.R.D alongside former Nasty Boys Gorgeous George and Slab. He was also pretty tight with a Nasty Boy known as Ramrod, but Ramrod hasn't been seen since he was killed alongside Ruckus pre-Krakoa. Okay, some compare and contrast. Here's some of the differences between the two characters. Kylun, he mimics sounds exactly, whatever their decibel level. Ruckus, he significantly amplifies the decibel level of any sounds that he mimics. But the manner in which they mimic sounds also differs. You see, Kylun's power retains any sounds he hears, whether he's aware of the sounds or not, within his genetic memory. By manipulating his vocal cords to modify the sounds that they produce, he can later replicate retained sounds exactly as his power recorded them. Ruckus's power has a sonar-like sense that registers any sound in his immediate vicinity. He later replicates the sound at an amplification of more than 1,000 times from his vocal cords. In addition to the high decibel levels, his power also produces a sonic concussive force. It also appears that Ruckus can apply his power to multiple sounds at once, something Kylun couldn't do as he had to take brief intervals between producing sounds. So Ruckus, he could most likely be a one-man musical show or movie. Hell, I don't even need to see an old concert of The Roots or even rewatch The Godfather. Ruckus, he could do both right in front of me. Also, with his ability to mimic multiple sounds at once, he's similar to Icarus, Jay Guthrie, Cannonball and Husk's younger brother. Icarus, he also has a superhuman vocal tract and he can create multiple sounds. But the difference between him and them is that he can make his voice resemble a choir of voices all singing in harmony all at once. He also demonstrated the power to harmonize with different melodies and sonic signatures, hitting a range of notes that should be impossible for a normal human's voice box. But unlike Kylun and Ruckus, Icarus, he can produce sounds on his own. He doesn't require copying sounds. And to manipulate their vocal cords to produce these sounds, it's possible that they altered them in the same manner that a shapeshifter like Mystique would do in order to mimic someone else's voice. And both Kylun and Ruckus, they must have a threshold for the loudness of sounds that they can reproduce or for what their eardrums can withstand. It was established in Ruckus's first appearance that his eardrums are superhumanly tough. Otherwise, he would blow them out every time he used his power. But I wonder, what would happen if both men faced someone like Banshee? If Kylun were to hear Banshee's sonic scream at point-blank range, all he could do was imitate that same scream as he heard it. But I don't think he or Ruckus would be able to have the capabilities that come with Banshee's sonic scream, like flight, shattering solid matter with precision, a psionic force field, etc. Also, it's worth noting that Banshee's vocal cords, they have limits, as he once exhausted his power in battle and lost both it and the ability to talk for a very long time. In the 90s X-Men cartoon, they made Ruckus's power like Banshee, a loud sonic scream with tons of force. If face-to-face, I imagine that Ruckus, he could take Banshee's sonic scream and amplify that loud scream 1,000 times even more right back at Sean Cassidy with no harm to himself. In Ruckus's first appearance, he was seen robbing a convenience store and waited for the police to arrive just so he could use the store alarms and the police sirens to feed his power, which he then used to kill the cops. Yes, he was that sadistic. Which is why, in terms of straight power usage, Ruckus beats Kylun, although the latter would most likely win in a physical altercation given that he is a trained warrior. Alright folks, that's what I got for you today for the loudmouth mutants of the Marvel Universe, besides Banshee that is. Tune in next week, I'm going to do another comparison then. Hope you'll like it, and I hope you have a good week. Later!
Mansion, apartment.
Shack, house. Yes!
Yeah.